When Lee Hsien Loong said it, it's like social media has become part of our daily lives. Have some fun with the medium and try out different platforms. So it's like, no, social media has become an integral part of our daily lives. It is a key channel for communication and a primary source of news for many.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, ChatGPT, please refresh this, 10% of this with more updated language.
More
and all
personality. I need to be a bit different. Can you take into account the recent happenings of the Su Hai Chin saga and just put stuff out there that makes sense? Going forward, like, everyone is going to be under immense public scrutiny, more than they have ever been in the past. And you have to remember, you will always be in the public eye. So don't come and give me this bullshit that you don't understand this, you don't understand that. Because that's what Iswaran said, right? He wasn't aware of certain rules or the penal code, which is ridiculous.
Time is running out. This is your final chance to nominate a loved one to be part of a very special SG60 project that we're doing. Singapore is celebrating its 60th birthday, and Folklory, our audio service, is marking this milestone in a very special way. We'll be interviewing 60 Singaporean seniors over 60 years old to capture their life stories for our Words of Wisdom project. But interview spots are disappearing fast. Your parent, grandparent, or that wise uncle could miss their place in history if you don't act now. Here's the best part. It's a heartfelt one-on-one interview done remotely. No travel, just their life story recorded from home. Nominate them right now at the link in the show notes. And don't forget, the first interviews are already live. Hear them now at the same link. But hurry, we're closing nominations soon. And now, on to the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
So, Terence, how's the ankle doing, man?
Okay. Now, like, the ankle's getting better. The rest of the foot and the legs are like exhausted from carrying everything. So little minor pains here and there, but on track to recovery. Yeah.
So when you project, you can walk without the walking stick?
The last time this happened to me, about a week later, I went cycling. So I'm hoping that it'll be something similar. Where within a week, like I'm more or less like back to normal-ish.
But you want to go cycling after 1 week?
No, I'm not going to. No, but surprisingly, cycling is less taxing on the less impact than walking. So actually, I think you can even cycle first before.
True, but cycling,
walking.
If you need to suddenly put your foot on the ground and all, there's just more room for something to go wrong.
More pain, right?
So Terence, please don't go cycling after 1 week. You can try, it's like, okay, but then don't go for a long cycle or something.
Correct. But now, like, there's a lot of things you can do when you have a bad foot. Like, there's a knee scooter. That's what I learned. What's the name of it? You can buy it on Shopee and all. Is you just rest your knee on it and you scoot around.
So you have a handle?
Yeah, the handles. So it's
it's literally called a knee scooter.
A knee scooter, yeah. So maybe you should invest in one of those for older age and all. That will actually help.
But do you find, like, walking around with a walking stick, do people treat you differently?
No, I mean, assholes like you still don't even bother to help at all. Like, giving dirty looks and I don't help you move stuff.
It's all in your mind, lah. Please, I always smile at you with warmth and affection.
Laugh and mockery. It just reminds me of the days. It's a bit like last time in school, like that, when you go to school and you've had a rough day and all that. Then straight away you go in school, the bullies start like whack your head, slap your back, everything. That's what it feels like.
When did I laugh at you? Huh? Don't have. It's just all in your head.
When I was coming in yesterday, the only person who came out to help me was not you, right?
It wasn't me, it wasn't
someone
me.
else.
Yeah, it was our other teammate who's newer to the team, lah.
Correct. Yeah. You all just leave me, man. You and Tristen also, Tristen. Yeah.
Maybe if this happens again in a year, then we see the other teammate.
Yeah. We need to keep refreshing teammates so that they help us through these moments.
But even then, I didn't laugh. When you came into the door, I think I stood up.
Yeah.
Check, Terence, you okay? Okay, then I sat back down.
But you're asking about a cane, right? Actually, the walking stick doesn't really help that much, I find. As in, people not especially giving way or anything like that. Okay, a little bit, maybe the lifts or something like this. But I felt it a lot more acutely when I was traveling and then I was using a walking stick once because I had the same injury. I had it was like I saw it like it's even a small life hack where it becomes like a guest pass. One of those guest passes to get you to the front of the line. Express passes, yeah. So I was queuing up for museums, all that, but I got into like the persons with disabilities line because of the walking stick.
This was in Europe, right?
Europe, where they give a shit.
Yeah, Asia, I don't know, Asia. So did you take train at any point these few days?
No.
Okay, a bit dangerous lah with the stopping and the starting and all.
Yeah, and the mad speed at which some of these buses ride.
Yeah, no, because I was wondering whether people will give you a seat.
Maybe I should go and test that.
Test lah. Do a
I just
social
do it when I'm
experiment.
better. I just bring the stick. Don't have to risk my health for
true.
this shit.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Social experiments, man.
Because I always feel that, like, I would imagine, because when my wife was pregnant, there were a few times she said she was surprised that no one would give her a seat when she was, like, obviously pregnant.
True.
And I'm like, really? I would have thought that Singaporeans generally would give up the seats. But she was saying no. Like, could see her bump.
Yeah.
Never get seat.
I was speaking to an old person recently who told me the same thing. He's very disheartened by how people are just buried in their phones and sitting on the so-called priority seats. And it's not a good sign for our society, man. When we do that.
I know some people have also told me anecdotally that they don't believe in the priority seats because they say that diffuses the responsibility. So if you're not in a priority seat, there's no expectation that you should give it up. Whereas if you remove the priority seat, kind of it's a shared responsibility lah.
Correct lah. But I think Singapore society has proven
you need rules.
Yeah, you need rules as proven by the tray return thing. Now, everyone's enjoying the fact that we have clean tables generally in the hawker centers, but it wouldn't have come about if we didn't have the fines of people not to remove.
So you think need
trays.
a fine for if you don't give up seat for old people?
Yeah. It takes a. I mean, that's why I think the priority seats are there, just to remind people that.
But there's no penalty.
Yeah, there is, right? Isn't there?
No.
There's no penalty.
There's no priority seats. There's no penalty.
You're right. There's no penalty. Maybe that's what they need.
Littering and all got penalty.
Yeah.
So I mean, last time also tray return, you could return your tray, but there was no penalty.
Correct.
Right. So this priority seat, no penalty.
Yeah.
So now we need a team of like ambassadors to stand on the train and just see, hey, you sit here, you better get up.
Yeah,
that would be fun lah. That would be fun to watch.
Priority seat vigilantes.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, yeah, safe distancing ambassadors. I'm sure we can have priority seat ambassadors.
Yeah, exactly. Create more jobs.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you are a senior person working as a ambassador, you're looking out for your other seniors. So yeah, feels like a role that could be interesting.
Possible, huh? Creating jobs for Singaporeans.
Creating jobs, correct.
Yeah.
But got stuff relating to the future of Singapore we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
But first, Terence, what's our regular spiel?
If you're new here, please like, share, follow, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're watching it, YouTube, Spotify, or even on our social media. And if you want to work with us,
you can email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just drop us a message at ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So, I mean, the long-awaited letter from PM Wong has arrived. It is the Rules of Prudence that PM Wong wrote to the PAP MPs on 28 May 2025.
Yeah.
So we had spoke about the Rules of Prudence, the last Rules of Prudence, which was written by the ex-PM Lee Hsien Loong on 31st July 2020. I think that was in relation to the Su Hai Chin saga lah, with Ong Ye Kang and Chee Hong Tat, right?
Where we spoke about it.
Yeah. But now PM Wong has issued his own Rules of Prudence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I totally forgot that this was going to be coming because it is not... It is not a requirement or something, right?
No,
it is just by convention lah.
Yeah.
But was there any doubt that whether or not there would be these Rules of Prudence that would be written?
At the start of every, I think, when the Parliament,
sits.
or at least the Parliament's formed, or at least after election, they do it. So the last time was 31st July 2020.
But again, it's like it's a tradition rather than like a requirement.
Yeah, that's right. It is, yeah.
But
so
I mean,
the last one was Lee Hsien Loong lah.
Yeah. I mean, pretty certain that PM Wong would have issued his also lah, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So I mean, before you read this, did you have any expectations of PM Wong's Rules of Prudence?
I think the interesting thing is that, he just in the last month alone that everything that happening to the photos and money launderers and all that came to light, right? And that's why we spoke about it. And I think PM Wong has this strong mandate, so we will want his first letters of prudence, right? Or letter of prudence to be more impactful.
Yeah.
I was hoping for that, right?
Yeah,
to address some of the doubts that people have been having more directly.
Yeah. And I mean, after reading it, any thoughts?
There are some interesting aspects that do pertain more to recent things that have come up in Parliament, right? And we can delve into them a bit. But for you, like, since you were quite caught off guard by this letter, right? As in you weren't expecting it or remembering it.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you read it?
I mean, when I was reading it, I was like, wait. Is this the one from 2020?
Yeah. There are a lot of similarities.
A lot of similarities. Then I was like, oh, no. So it feels, I mean, even like the title of the headers, right? Rules of prudence, upholding our reputation and integrity, separating business and politics. It is the same lah. Gifts and all that. And I think by and large, it's very almost exactly the same headers. It's just a few different nuances and kind of tones of voice lah.
So basically, ChatGPT, please refresh this 10% of this with more updated language, and
More
all
personality.
that. More personality to show the
That I'm different,
zest,
you know,
the
yeah.
zest that I bring to this role.
Yeah, last night, on 27 July, he was just keying. He's like, okay, don't change it so much.
Yeah.
But it's my new cabinet.
Yeah.
I need to be a bit different. Can you take into account the recent happenings of the Su Haijin saga and just put stuff out there that makes sense?
Is that how detailed it needs to be for ChatGPT to work effectively?
I think ChatGPT, the prompt actually is like 90% of the way there lah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize how detailed you need it to be
Yeah.
in order to, and the number of iterations you need to get it to a place where it feels substantially like improved, right?
Correct.
Because it can come out with like very generic drivel if you don't give it enough instructions.
But at the same time, while there is benefit to being detailed, there's also benefit to giving it a blank slate. I think like when you first start using ChatGPT, it might be like you just want something very simple, but once you understand how powerful it is, you start off very broad and then you dive in deep. But probably this one, he just copied and pasted. Then he just asked for some changes.
But I'm sure he's damn shook for him to write the second paragraph of this Rules of Prudence, right? Because the second paragraph is, our party has won 87 out of 97 seats in the just concluded general election. Overall, the PAP won 65.6% of the votes, which is improvement from what Lee Hsien Loong last wrote, which was only 61.2% of the votes.
And literally, it's the same thing. Our party has won 83 out of 93 seats.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, so that's why he was like, please, ChatGPT, please emphasize this difference in the second paragraph.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the so that was where I was like, oh, I mean, I don't know how different the rules of prudence tend to be across the years, which is something that I mean, can just search rules of prudence 2015. But I was a bit surprised by how similar it was, because I think one thing that I think everybody's curious about is like, what is PM Wong's parliament going to be like?
Yeah.
And it almost feels like, okay, this is like what he said, right? New team. New resolve. What's the thing?
Change world, fresh team, new resolve.
Yeah. So change world, fresh team, new resolve, but somewhat similar rules of prudence. Feels like it doesn't fit the brief, lah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were certain small differences that we can go into. But for you, like, how do you feel reading it?
I think most of it is the same, but definitely there were certain nuances that reflect the sign of the times, right? His Lawrence Wong's approach and tone versus Lee Hsien Loong's, and also little things like how the use of social media there's a much bigger section on the use of social media in this, right?
Yeah.
So there are things that we can delve into about it, but I do want to highlight some of the key things that maybe online commentators have been talking about also, right? I mean, obviously, Iswaran happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal, right? That it happened during the period of transition between Lee Hsien Loong and Lawrence Wong. As mentioned, the photos of the dinners with the money launderer Su Haijin that Ong Yi Kang, Chee Hong Tat, and Ng Chee Meng were in the photos. And I think even the last 5 years or so, talking about certain conflicts of interest, like Tin Pei Ling, for example, her role in Grab versus her role as an MP, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot was brought up about conflicts of interest. So there are these issues that are still quite fresh in people's minds. So with that context, when you read the Rules of Prudence, you can sort of like, is he trying to address some of these issues with the language that he's using?
Any examples?
I think like just specifically, there's one part like talking about the Tim Pei Ling's role in Grab. Not that he's specifically referring to it, not that Lawrence Wong is specifically referring to it, but he does talk about conflicts between like the section is separating business and politics, right?
Yeah.
Conflicts between interests and your public duties as MPs, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel that specifically the use of the word conflict there was not used. Lee Hsien Loong did not use the word conflict in that section. So it's quite clear. So Lawrence Wong saw that, okay, even talking about your work outside your day-to-day job versus your role as MP, you got to be aware of what conflicts that might be in there. So small difference, but tells you, okay, they're trying to address something and almost formalize what the party's position is on certain things. Because we don't know, we outside, we don't know how within the party they took the whole issue of Tin Pei Ling joining Grab and all that, right?
Yeah.
But maybe this gives you a little hints about how people in the party thought about it.
I see. I mean, another difference was under the section upholding our reputation and integrity, because you mentioned the Su Hai-Chin saga and all.
Yeah.
So for PM Lee, he said one paragraph, you must distinguish between these two groups of people, which would be the people who are altruistic, public-spirited individuals versus people who are trying to self-serve and further their own agenda. So PM Lee said, you must distinguish between these two groups of people and be shrewd in assessing the motives of those who seek to get close to you. At all times, be seen to be beyond the influence of gifts or favors. But PM Wong, he said, you must be shrewd in assessing the motives of people who seek to get close to you, both in conduct and perception. You must stand above any hint of favor or influence, which I thought was interesting, because there is a lot of emphasis on the conduct of MPs.
Yeah.
But Lawrence Wong is also pointing out that the perception is important.
Yeah.
Which I thought, okay, that feels like he was looking at PM Lee's, rules of prudence. He's like, no, this one cannot. Make a note. This one not applicable anymore. Must include perception. So those are the kind of things I was like, actually, there's a interesting tweak Interesting tweak.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the tone of voice, right? Anything about that stood out?
Not really. I thought the tone of voice quite formal, right? Still quite similar. But do you see any difference?
Yeah, like I think PM Lee's one was a lot more formal. Because take, for example, under financial prudence, right? He said, as MPs, you should manage your personal financial affairs prudently. That one, the first line is exactly the same. For PM Lee, do not extend yourself or become financially embarrassed. This would be not only a potential source of personal embarrassment, but also a weakness which may expose you to pressure or blackmail.
Yeah.
Whereas for PM Wong, right, this can not only cause personal embarrassment, but also expose you to pressure or blackmail. And it seems like a small difference, right? But one thing that we've always said about PM Wong is like, his communication skills, especially during COVID and all, I think now maybe my sentiments have changed a bit, but I remember during COVID and even when he would be talking about, race at the IPS dialogues, I always thought he had a certain way of talking about things without coming off as like annoying or gaslighting, and almost kind of doing it in a way that gives room to discuss the topic itself, rather than be swayed by certain things he says, which I think is a skill.
Yeah.
So in this case, it does feel like a more personable way of saying what PM Lee said.
Correct.
As opposed to expose you with a weakness which may expose you to pressure or blackmail. This one, it's just like concise. It's like he told ChatGPT, just make this a bit more personable and reduce the word count by 20%.
Yeah. I do also note the difference in tone because this is a quite interesting section, right? When they talk about declaration of directorships and income. So imagine this is like, you need to go to your big boss and reveal to him everything about your income. What boards you sit on, business professional interests, your employment monthly pay, all retainers and fees you're receiving, whether your job requires you to get in touch with ministries or stat boards and all. And this one is like, you must disclose to the Prime Minister in confidence. I'm guessing this is like either a one-on-one meeting or maybe like overwriting or something like that, right? But even just a little bit, this little couple paragraphs, the language of it between Lee Hsien Loong and Lawrence Wong is quite different. In Lee Hsien Loong's one, it starts with for your own protection, every MP should disclose to me, blah, 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 blah. But for Lawrence Wong, it's just straight out. Every MP should disclose to me in confidence your blah, 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 blah. So they removed that whole that little line about for your own protection. So maybe it's less about protecting you already. It's more about these are the rules, just bloody follow it.
Actually, yeah. Like those sort of things quite interesting, right? Like why would he remove that phrase?
Exactly, yeah. Because maybe
everything else is the same.
Yeah, but to get rid of the implication that we're trying to protect you, right? So, it tells you a big deal about what the emphasis on. Essentially, Iswaran was part of the fold and, they got him out, right? Because of what he did. So it's no longer about protecting you. It's about, these are the rules of prudence that you need to follow, right?
Because, there is this belief that, the PAP protects itself. When PM Lee says, I was counseling Tan Chuan Jin for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then he come out and said it felt like, wow.
People criticized that, right?
Yeah.
And even when the whole Iswaran thing happened, I remember talking to people and they're like, he'll get a slap in the wrist, it'll be nothing, they protect their own and all that. So it came as quite a shock when everything unfolded and then he actually ended up going to jail for longer than we expected also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's why, even though, you on paper, everything looks similar, just exclusion of certain phrases, you're like, oh shit, yeah. Means business, right?
Yeah, and I think that is the things that are interesting, because there's no way that, every word was not scrutinized in these rules of prudence.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be something that the public has access to. It's going to be something that the public would hopefully pull on and refer to whenever there's conduct that is unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
So this is almost like the constitution of conduct for MPs.
Yeah.
And these little things remove, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was looking at the rules of prudence for 2015, it is generally similar-ish, but a few different headings. And you can imagine maybe from 30 years ago, the rules of prudence probably had nothing on social media. So maybe there is these sort of general things that every letter of and rules of prudence should cover.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that someone can come in and just change everything.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably can, but there's also some benefit to not going drastic. And in some way, that is also kind of the feeling now, right? That the PAP, yes, there is a fresh team, there is a new resolve, but it's still a lot of the same.
Correct, yeah.
With subtle differences.
Subtle differences. That only differences. Only if you're in the know or you are directly affected by these, the declarations you need to make. Then you'll notice these differences, right?
Yeah.
But just talking about the social media section, you said no difference. It's quite interesting how the tone of it, when Lee Hsien Loong said it, is social media has become, social media has become part of our daily lives. By all means, use social media to let people know about your work or get to know your views better. Have some fun with the medium and try out different platforms. And then Lawrence was like, no, social media has become an integral part of our daily lives. It is a key channel for communication and a primary source of news for many.
Oh yeah, PM Lee said, have some fun with the medium.
So now it's it's all work already. It's no longer fun anymore.
He's like this Ikang, having too much fun. Too much fun. He needs to brain it in, man.
Please declare your collaborations with influencers, if any, next time that you do, So, this was a TikTok election, right? Like a lot of people said.
One thing that PM Wong also added was the line, it is a key channel for communication and a primary source of news for many.
Yeah.
And in some way, that is also kind of like an evolution from 2020 to 2025 now, right?
Correct.
Take for example this podcast. In 2020, we were doing it, but now, based anecdotally on what we hear from people do refer to this for news updates, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where PM Wong is also laying the smackdown. And another line that was slightly different was in the general behavior. PM Lee said, the last line, always conduct yourselves with modesty, decorum, and dignity, particularly in the media. Also said by PM Wong. PM Lee said, you must win respect, not popularity, to stay the course. But what PM Wong added, in between that line and the previous line, in this internet age, you will always be in the public eye. You must win respect, not popularity, to stay the course. So again, it's an acknowledgement that, this going forward, everyone is going to be under immense public scrutiny, more than they have ever been in the past.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, you will always be in the public eye. So don't come and give me this bullshit that you don't understand this, you don't understand that. Because that's what Iswaran said, right? He wasn't aware of certain rules or the penal code, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
For someone like, say, Ng Chee Meng, like just understanding that everything that he has done in the past is now coming up to him, like how he behaved at some MOE conference and all, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, I mean, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Another one, PM Lee said, for social media language, be honest, empathetic, positive, and affirming in all your messages. PM Wong, be honest, empathetic, and constructive in all your messages. She was like, fuck the positive and affirming.
Yeah.
Just be constructive.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So again, like, it's a bit weird, right? Like, PM Lee sounds a bit more like, guys, a bit more casual. Have some fun, be positive and affirming. Whereas PM Wong is like, okay, screw the fun, screw the positive, screw affirming, constructive. So it's very practical, which again, it echoes his whole sentiment of like, this is a new world order. We cannot, take risks. I need my core team. And it's very like practical, very safe.
Yeah. But I at the same time, I guess, I just noticed, like, certain things, like talking about when Lawrence Wong spoke about, MPs might be approached by friends, grassroots leaders, or proprietors to officiate openings of premises or other business events. And they usually offer a gesture in return, such as donation to a charity or constituency welfare fund. And he says, like, though it may be awkward to refuse such requests, once you accept one, it will be hard-pressed to draw a line. And everything is the same as what Lee Hsien Loong said previously also, until the second last line where basically Lee Hsien Loong said, as a rule, you should decline invitations to such business events. Lawrence Wong's side says, as a general rule, you should decline invitations to such business events. Why do you think the word general was added in here?
What was the first one again? PM Lee?
Basically saying, as a rule, you should decline invitations to events where, friends, grassroots leaders or businessmen ask you to officiate openings of their premises or something in return for donation to charity or what. Yeah.
Why PMO added the general thing?
General, yeah. Because general makes it more, let's kind of follow this, but check with us. But as a rule, it's like, this is a rule.
Maybe because like PM Wong understands that, or maybe he feels that certain meetings need to happen. And it's better you check with us first, but I'm not saying no to everything.
Yeah.
Which also a bit interesting.
Correct.
Why do you think he removed it or he added it?
Maybe, if let's just look at the most recent case of the money launderer Su Haijin, right? Su Haijin also donated money to charity, right? And I think there were MPs who were present at the donations of the things, and maybe that led to certain dinners or anything where MPs were also present, right? Maybe they were linked, but I think that's where if you say in your rules of prudence that it's a rule that you can't do this, and then someone breaches it, it's a immediate problem, right? But there might be some intricacies, like Ng Chee Meng was saying, engaging with business leaders to find out how they can, partner with the union and stuff like that. It's should he decline invitation to such an event? Right? It's a part of his role as the labor chief also. It's kind of overlaps with his role as an MP as well, right?
Yeah.
So maybe understanding that it's not easy. I mean, there are nuances to these kind of requests and all that.
Yeah.
That's why Lawrence Wong's like, okay, let's not like box ourselves in with certain kind of language that make it immediately feel like we are breaking the rules, right?
Yeah. I mean, in some way you can argue that is a bit more empathetic, in the sense that context matters.
Yeah.
And not to say that just having a meeting with someone who is at ends with your philosophy or ideology is a bad thing.
Yeah.
In some way, that's what we try to also talk about, right? Like, just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to them to try to understand them. So again, a bit more open. So that's why they opposite. Some parts Lawrence Wong more chill, some parts Lee Hsien Loong more chill.
Correct. Yeah. Because like even Lee Hsien Loong's side about engaging, like whether MPs should, engage with government agencies or public servants, how they should do that. Like Lee Hsien Loong is quite hard and fast in saying, conduct business with government agencies in writing and avoid making telephone requests. So that part is removed from Lawrence Wong's side, right? At all times, engage public servants respectfully, never pressure them or seek to bypass proper procedures. So they're like Lee Hsien Loong saying, like, you don't do the phone call where there's no black and white, But I think Lawrence Wong's side is a bit more generic. Don't pressure them. Whatever platform you're using.
I see.
So you're right, lah. That it's not that Lawrence Wong is necessarily becomes this letter Prudence is more prudent.
Yeah.
There's some parts where there seems to be change in the language to make it more
evolving with the times.
Evolving the times a bit.
Evolving
right?
with the times, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when it comes to opposition, so PM Lee said, be prepared to engage the opposition to clarify their interventions and scrutinize their ideas. However, please exercise judgment when putting your points across and do not get carried away playing to the gallery. So PM Wong has the same stuff, except in one line, right? In between, right? When it's after put your points across with clarity and purpose, he added, instead of just please exercise judgment when putting your points across, he added, put your points across with clarity and purpose, address the issues and not the person. So that's something that PM Lee didn't have.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he also recognizes that in Parliament now, there's a lot of personal attacks. Maybe you should have put, don't use Cantonese.
Don't use
but
dialects.
That one, don't use dialects. But that one
Too
a
direct.
bit too specific.
Yeah.
But in some way, to me, like that is acknowledging that, the parliamentary session sometimes can go down a path where it's just personal attacks.
Yeah.
Right.
And playing to the gallery is like what you were very miffed about, right? Everyone laughing.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
Tan See Leng used Cantonese, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Then there was also another thing when talking about raising funds and accepting donations, right? Lawrence Wong, PM Lee said, be careful when raising funds and accepting donations. PM Wong said, make an effort to gather multiple small contributions. Check on the background of the donors. Avoid incurring obligations. So, I mean, in some way, checking on the background of donors, again, it feels like it's something that has been updated because of recent happenings.
Yeah, correct.
So I mean, in some way, the more you look at like Lawrence Wong's cabinet and his modus operandi, it feels like he's not going for a drastic change.
Yeah.
But there are subtle changes happening here and there, and these rules of prudence kind of reflect that, lah.
Yeah.
There are certain things he has curtailed, but certain things he has also made it a bit more wiggle room just to evolve with the times, which I mean is interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to see.
Yeah.
There was another line. PM Lee said, you should not accept directorships where your role is just to dress up the board. PM Wong just removed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he just removed it. Maybe also, if you think about it, when PM Lee said, for your own protection. And then this one, we should not accept directorships where your role is to just dress up the board. In some way, both those lines perpetuate some sort of sentiment that is undesirable. That the PAP protects the internal people, that people do ask MPs to dress up the board. And you can imagine that is something that it's one criticism of the PAP, right? It's almost like the way they discuss internally when made public. To the public, you're like, how can you just talk like that? Because PM Lee, I mean, it probably is a real thing. A lot of people do ask them to dress up the board. But PM Wong is trying to stop those sentiments from being perpetuated.
Correct.
Which is quite interesting. And because he also said something about when you prepare your speeches and deliver them clearly, right? PM Lee also mentioned that, but PM Wong added another line, this will help your audience and the media to grasp your points effectively. Which is another thing that shows that, I mean, at least PM Wong understands that whatever is said in Parliament now, whatever is said at press conferences or doorstop interviews, people will interpret it. And it is the role of the politician to make sure that it is easily interpretable.
Correct, yeah.
So again, subtle nuance.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have been fun if the rules of prudence were totally different.
Then there'll be much more scrutiny and debate about it, right?
Yeah. But maybe it's like in the 1,000 things to do, this is just make the differences when necessary, but don't change it too much. Maybe if he runs for another term, where he's got 5 years under his belt, then we'll see some bigger changes.
Correct, yeah. I guess they know that people will be reading these much more than they were 5 years ago, right?
Mm-mm.
Because, I mean, it's been a long 5 years and a lot of unprecedented things have happened in this past 5 years.
Yeah.
Tan Chuan Jin,
Ride Out.
Ride Out Road, then Iswaran, obviously.
Yeah.
So, or even the opposition side, Raisa Khan and everything also, right?
Yeah.
So, people will be scrutinizing this letter a lot more.
Yeah. But I mean, interesting lah. Like,
Interesting,
it looks very similar. So anyone who has actually taken the time to read through and thinks that is so similar and all, got subtle differences lah. Subtle differences.
Subtle differences lah.
Subtle. It's like you copy homework, but you change a bit.
Yeah.
But whether or not the teacher still feels like this is copied homework, don't know.
I mean, not even students lah. Even people who use ChatGPT lah, right?
Yeah.
You use ChatGPT, but you tweak a little bit lah, right? You tweak.
But he doesn't have the long dash. You know what's that? What's that?
M dash.
The M dash. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Doesn't have the M dash.
But yeah lah.
But yeah, interesting. I mean, the first parliament sitting will be in July lah, right?
Correct.
Be in July. Okay. So still got like a month.
Yeah. But speaking of scrutiny and getting things factually correct and all, the next topic is about a politician also who didn't get some facts correct lah, and that seems to have real implications for actual small businesses running outside there lah, right? And who is this politician?
It's a certain Chee Soon Juan, who is the Secretary General of the SDP.
Yeah.
He put a video out a couple of days ago that talked about, the realities of running an F&B business in Singapore and how the F&B industry is in crisis and how certain establishments have had to close because of rising rent costs and all that. So it was kind of like a montage of different places.
Yeah.
But the truth is that one of the places that was said to be closed is a hawker stall. I mean, it's a stall at Old Airport Road Food Centre. It's called Bakes and Bites.
Yeah.
And it's run by a very sweet couple.
Yeah.
And apparently after this video went live, they saw a dip in their sales.
Yeah.
And they feel that it's because people thought, oh shit, they're closed, so they're not coming anymore.
Yeah.
And then they emailed Chee Soon Juan's team, and someone from the team responded saying, thank you for reaching out. We much appreciate you approaching us with clarifications on the state of Bakes and Bites business operations. Dr. Chee has removed his original video and uploaded an amended version that doesn't reference Bakes and Bites in it. We sincerely apologize for the confusion and distress caused. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions or concerns.
Yeah.
So since then, I think the stall owners also went to 8 days and talked about how, they did see quite a drastic decrease in footfall and customers.
70% drop in business, man.
70%. So they say, and I quote, Dr. Chee's video was posted on Sunday afternoon, May 25th, and I was alerted to it only the next day by a fellow F&B owner.
Yeah.
According to Christina, one of the owners, sales took a big hit starting 27th May because the store was closed on 26th May. Before that, our daily sales averaged about $568, ranging from $400 to $900. But on May 27 to 28, it plunged to $157 and $131 respectively. And that's the 70% drop that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chee Soon Juan re-uploaded a video with the amendment taken out. It was shared on certain Facebook groups like Hawkers United Tapao 2020, which I think was a Facebook group that started in 2020 to kind of help hawkers do deliveries without incurring the crazy delivery costs.
Yeah.
But people responded to it kind of differently. But what made you want to talk about this?
I mean, I guess like what you said, people responded to it differently. Some were saying there literally were some comments to not only this post on Hawkers United, but also on Chee Soon Juan's original post. Some people are saying, Dr. Chee, what you did is not enough. If you've really hurt the livelihoods of some small business owners here. And then on the other side, some people are saying, come on, if anything, Dr. Chee's mention of your business is a big deal and would have helped you with publicity, right? So to disavow the mention and then blame, the state of your business on Dr. Chee's post is kind of stretching it a little.
Yeah.
So all that, it seems like the big topic that Chee Soon Juan is discussing about F&B rental and all is getting lost in this drama about, this small business being affected and what Dr. Chee, whether he did enough to help them and all that, right? Which I feel that's where, it's interesting to examine could something have been done better? Because if anything, we know that SDP can do an apology and do an apology pretty well, right? They did it during the elections. Shit happened.
That's true.
They did a very, very good apology tour. But that's where, it's more, should we demand more of Chee Soon Juan here? Right?
Yeah, because I mean, the re-upload has 30K views on Instagram. I don't know how many the original video got. Are you aware?
No, I'm not aware.
But I mean, the apology video, normally apology videos, I mean, re-uploads tend to get a lot less, right?
Yeah.
So, and the one on Facebook also has quite a number of views,
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at this, like, I think the comments that point out, these people just trying to use Chee Soon Juan's name and bring him down, I think that's ridiculous.
So you think that it's that they should have an apology? They should have a larger...
Oh no, I'm saying because some of the comments was that these people are just using the name of Dr. Chee
for publicity.
For publicity,
Yeah.
Who the F cares about Bytes and Bits or Bytes and Chips closing? If you're good, the fake closing should have brought more business and not the other way.
Yeah.
Shameless owners trying to pull a fast one. I call this BS. I think that's damn ridiculous. Because how does it make sense that if someone thinks you're closed, you are going to get more business? It means you reopen the business. If you're struggling, that's different. But in Chee Soon Juan's video, he said close. He was like showing a picture of the owners and close, right?
And it's quite a pity because I think the owners were literally just featured earlier this month on like CNA Lifestyle and 8 Days or so about the like what you said, the very sweet story of them. I think the man in the couple, he lost his job as an engineer and then after that, pivoted to learning how to bake. And then his wife is an admin assistant who comes and helps him in the stall.
Yeah.
So, there's someone who represent people from the pioneer generation who have reinvented themselves later in their life. It's a very good story, right?
Yeah.
So to suddenly like someone sort of just use you as a, not even so much talking about you, but use you as a statistic, right? In a video and then say that you're closed when you're obviously not closed. It can't be a good thing. I can't see any good coming out of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's where, unfortunately, this to me, it's not a good reflection on Chee Soon Juan and his team. Because, I mean, today it's all about the nuances.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's looking at this, with all the wars in the world, they can be like, what the fuck, you're complaining about apology video, But, I mean, that's the state of Singapore where nuances matter, right? In this case, first of all, when the email was kind of like replied to by his team, right? That one already felt like, okay. And then when you re-upload a video without kind of like even doing something for that shop, I mean, even if you want to do another video talking about, because some of the other eateries mentioned also, they haven't closed yet, they're closing.
Like the wine RVLT and even Floor Patisserie.
They're still open, but they are closing.
Yeah, but they've been very public about what the issues are. So Chee Soon Juan is right in bringing up these issues, but it's absolutely wrong to say that they're closed, which he put a big stamp closed on it.
Is that how would you feel if like someone made a video highlighting how difficult it is to run a media business, then they show your face and my face and but closed.
Yeah. No, it'll be bad because then people also will not want to work with you because they feel like you might be going under already, right? So even if they had plans to work with you in the next 4 to 6 weeks or what, they might just change their plans, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe, I mean, okay, I don't want to stretch it, but let's say someone wants to do a big order of cakes or something or muffins, or muffins for the office one last time before they're not closing, but one big order or something. They might not do it. You can say they can go on Google review and check and all that, and then they'll see it's open. But the thing is, we know that you can't 100% trust Google, the Google Maps also. It doesn't tell you like certain special off days that businesses have and also.
Yeah.
So it's not a good thing, and I feel like just putting an addendum in the description of the video is not enough, right?
Yeah, because of what SDP and Chee Soon Juan seems to stand for. It's always about fighting for the individual, the people who are left behind. But in some way, that's why the critics who say, hey, but how, if your business is good, any business worth their salt should be able to write these kind of things. Like, what is the impact?
Yeah.
But the reality of small business, where your daily revenue is like 500 plus,
Yeah.
even if you lose like $50, right, that's 10% hit to your revenue. No?
Yeah.
And even if a handful of customers don't come, which is the reality of a small business, right? So for Chee Soon Juan and SDP to just put out like what you say, an addendum feels a bit like, hey, there's so much more you could do, to really walk the talk with all your preaching about F&B businesses not being able to do well because of all these external factors. In this case, you are an external factor that just affected a small business.
Yeah.
So just like how when Jijin Wong said something that compromises stuff that you stand for,
Yeah.
you went over overcompensated and did an apology that people kind of appreciated lah.
Yeah.
So in this case, if you want to walk the talk, you need to do more for them lah.
Yeah. I do think so.
Uh,
I mean, at the very least, and also maybe rather than just remove that part of the video, maybe a little note at the front of the video, right? That can be edited into a video. It's not difficult to do on social media these days. So yeah, if he's got a team working on it, I think they should also look to doing more, or even doing something. Maybe hopefully right, they are in touch with the business and talking about how else they can help the business also, right?
Yeah.
Maybe doing a special shout out for the business.
Yeah.
Because it just feels very unfair for the business to not only have to deal with this labeling of them being closed, but after that deal with people calling them out for using Chee Soon Juan's name to
Sully,
to market their own business. I mean, they never asked for this, right?
Yeah.
And the factual inaccuracies of the other businesses also that I like. Come on, someone has to do some fact checking here, right?
Yeah,
the businesses are still open.
Yeah.
Go and support them, right?
And I mean, you just last week you spoke and something we were also kind of like hyping you all up for, wanting to do a union to
Shadow
kind of
union.
shadow union of NTUC.
Yeah.
The name, I mean, not ideal, but we were kind of like saying, hey, that's a good thing. And then you do this kind of thing. Then some more, the Christopher, who's one of the co-owners, he's like 72 and he emailed Dr. Chee's team at 2 a.m. no.
Yeah.
Already so shack being a hawker, running a hawker stall. Then you email at 2 a.m. So it just feels like, hey, this small business, they need help. The good thing is, I think with this article and stuff like that, hopefully they are getting more publicity. I mean, I'm totally going to go. I bought from them before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And their shit is good, man.
Yeah.
And they have muffins.
Don't say shit. They say the muffins are good, Harish.
Yeah, muffins are good. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Later you quote out of context.
That's why their shit is...
Their shit.
No, their muffins, their baked stuff and all is nice. And like it's the perfect example of like what you said, someone who reinvented themselves, like 72-year-old and a 60-plus-year-old working and just selling their trade is very cool. His wife's 69.
Yeah. I mean, it's not all a bit of roses for them also. The article on CNN Lifestyle that talked about them earlier this month, they also talk about how this old couple has to skip paying themselves a salary because of rising costs and things like that. So it's not easy, right? But the idea is that let's highlight these hawkers and support them if we can.
Yeah.
Not let's highlight these support hawkers and use them as a talking point about how jialat the F&B scene is, right?
Yeah.
But going to the content of what Chee Soon Juan is saying, right? And it's about talking about the F&B scene in Singapore. Essentially, a lot of businesses, local, smaller businesses, are being replaced by conglomerates from China, right?
Yeah.
He mentions Luckin Coffee coming in, and the first place outside China they opened a store was in Singapore. And apparently, GIC was one of the lead investors in Luckin also, right? What do you think of the overall what you're saying in that?
I mean, I think it is a very real thing, and I think it was on some Reddit thread or some article that highlighted something that I never thought of. They pointed out or they hypothesized that Singapore is actually the perfect market for regional brands that want to enter the English-speaking market in the West.
Yeah.
Because you test it in Singapore, small footprint, you can kind of like test the market. In some way, I would imagine there's a lot more similarities between the demographic in Singapore and the US and the UK compared to like a city in a non-English speaking country in Southeast Asia. So they test it here. They figure out kind of what works before they use that as a stepping stone to go abroad. And I never thought about it that way. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Because you think about it, like if a brand wants to enter a new market, there's a lot of investment costs. And with so many opening in Singapore, I always wonder, like, actually, why are they making such a push in Singapore? How big is the market? You're coming from China with like 1,000 or thousands of stores around China. You want to come to Singapore and open like 5? Why? But because it might be the case that they want to test it here, test in the English market, and then boom town, go abroad. So I think that is a very real thing. And I think another point that has been discussed before also is that with all the rents rising, only the bigger companies where they have economies of scale can survive. Having individual F&B owners, it's going to be damn hard because if you're operating just one, there's no way you can kind of enjoy any like economies of scale. So I think it's a very important topic where it's sad that this kind of shit happens.
And I mean, people are going to say, wow, we're all being so hard on Chee Soon Juan. Would it be the same if it was a PAP MP that did this and all that? Right?
I mean, I think it would be.
I think we call it out even more.
Remember, there was one episode we talked about the budget go where thing to find a budget meal.
That's right.
And that stupid ass initiative, which was a GovTech website, I think, to find cheap meals at the hawker centers near you, and it's crowdsourced. So then also we shat on it. So I think like like this one, if it needs to be shat on, we have to shit on it.
I also got a small request. I hope because it has happened before, where cut-ups of our Yellow Bud podcast have also been used in Chee Soon Juan's videos, right, to make certain points. I always ask fellow, people on the internet and all that, when you do that, right, do tag us, right? It's not difficult to tag us on Instagram and all, so that at least we know that our content is being used and also that our content is reaching your audience as well, right? I don't believe that they tagged us the last time they did it, but I would appreciate that, Dr. Chee, to tag us. Or SDP, if you tag us, if you do cut up our stuff.
We should have asked him when he came on our podcast.
Yeah.
But that one, I think there were too many other bigger things to talk about.
No, and it might not be him per se doing it, right? It could be his team. But I think it's good practice, guys, to help other small media businesses also by making sure you credit them and tag them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're planning something. Maybe they're going to go down to Bakes and Bites.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully,
I would respect, Dr. Chee if he did that.
That would be cool. And I mean, anyone who's near them or don't mind going Old Airport Road, go check them out.
Yeah.
They're really quite awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So, what is your one Shiok comment on these last few days?
My one Shiok. Well, let me.
I have mine.
Yeah.
It's a DM that someone sent to us on our Ministry of Funny channel, right? I won't say the name since it's a DM, but this person said, my sister recommended you guys to me and I was like, I'm not into podcasts. But I wanted to know about the GE and I gave you all a listen and there was no turning back. Haha. Now you guys are my company when I work alone in my studio and the stuff you guys say make me LOL. Laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. I've since finished all your recent podcasts and have had to go back to the archives of 2019. You guys have come such a long way. Thank you so much for top tier content. So you know who you are, this listener. Like I said, our podcast accompanies a lot of people when they work, right? And I'm very glad that's the case.
I still don't know how that happens, but like when people are listening to us when they work.
Yeah.
But I mean, still much appreciated,
cool, right? Yeah.
I mean, for me, my one Shiok comment is, I mean, not something totally related to us. It was just a post on our Yellow Bud Reddit by aggressive-win-6361 titled G 2025 expenses 388,000 on Marine Parade Bridal Heights GRC walkover. And it was just something that kickstarted a pretty robust discussion, almost 20 comments, 14,000 views. It's just a reminder that, hey, shit, now like people are having these discussions on our Reddit on their own. Organically.
Correct.
And I mean, we are past 6,100 members on Reddit. So it's nice that now it's taken on a life of its own. And people seem to be finding it as a space where they can have discussions amongst themselves, which is wonderful.
This is exactly what we wanted.
Exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
After watching the Lion City Sailors, I'm trying to follow local football a little bit more. But recently there was a very interesting thing that happened during a local game between, I think for the Singapore Cup between Tampines and BG Patum, right? The title of the video is "Late Drama as an own goal is scored via drop kick." So when I watched the clip, right, there's a series of events. I would say refereeing errors that led to this very strange incident of a goal being scored via a drop ball, right? And if those who don't know in football, when a drop ball means that the referee has stopped play for some reason, but he's going to give the ball to one team, but that team is not allowed to take the ball and shoot with it immediately, right?
Yeah.
They need to either pass it or kick it somewhere, maybe kick it back to the opponent because the opponent gave out the ball to them or something.
Yeah.
So a lot of times this drop ball is used when there's a serious injury or something happens in the crowd or what, then they have to stop the game halfway. There's no official reason to stop the game. They stop the game. Then the referee resumes the game by just dropping the ball on the floor and then the player kicks it, right?
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to score from that ball. But in this case, the players, I think there was some dispute about a foul that was not a foul, and then finally the referee acknowledged that, there was a mistake, so he had to do a drop ball, and he dropped the ball, and I think the player just kicks the ball, and it goes into the goal, right? And by right, that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to allow that to happen because you're not supposed to score from there.
Yeah.
But just by the intricacies of the ball just going off the shin of the opposing defender, they have to let it in as an own goal. So it's such an interesting technicality that I've never seen in football before that is fascinating to me. And it happened right here in Singapore.
And I mean, even, like what you mentioned when we were at Lion City Sailors, there were a few dubious. There was one time where they were supposed to return the ball, but they didn't.
They didn't, yeah.
And everybody is aware.
Yeah,
they got booed like crazy, myself included.
Yeah. And I felt very uncomfortable.
But that one, they deserve it. They deserve the boo.
Yeah,
they deserve the boo.
When you don't observe the rules of prudence for playing football, right? You deserve the boos.
Rules of sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Cool. My one Shiok thing is also football related. It is, the Italian league, the Serie A just completed. And as sad as the state is that Man U is right now, right? It's so weird that so many players who have left Man U recently are blossoming at their respective clubs.
Yeah.
Anthony is killing it at Real Betis. Scott McTominay, who went to Napoli mid-season, just played a part in Napoli becoming champions of Serie A.
Yeah.
And he got Player of the Year.
Yeah, I know.
It's insane. I always liked the way he played, but it just felt like he wasn't fitting with the menu system and just wasn't standing out.
Yeah.
Because he's not say like a standout, but he's quite steady.
Steady, yeah.
And then he goes to Napoli and he becomes Player of the Year halfway, he joined.
Yeah.
Of course, people criticize Serie A saying that it's nowhere what it used to be and it's not the top European league, whatever. It's still 20 teams and he was voted the best player of the season.
Yeah.
And it's just and on the other hand, Man U just lost to the ASEAN All-Stars in Malaysia. Not the Asian All-Stars, the ASEAN All-Stars.
Who are not even really the biggest stars.
Because the biggest players are all focused on some other tournament,
international duties.
Yeah, and they were assembled a week ago and they beat a Man U team which featured a lot of the regulars 1-0.
Yeah.
And then one of the players was caught on camera showing a finger to the crowd.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I hope this next 3 months Man U just does something because it's insane.
I hope you show the resilience that the Bigs and Bites people do, right? By sticking with Man U through this period.
I will. I mean, I was still, it's still my club. It's still my club.
Yeah. You chose them at their peak. At their peak, right?
Yeah.
That was just a down period.
Yeah.
That has lasted the last 10 years.
But yeah, man. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. It's another week gone by. Please remember to follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Reddit. And if you want to work with us,
please email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or check out ministryoffunny.com. There's a way to contact us there.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you all very soon.